Mama, don't you moan. You know I'm doing my best to make it to your home. Sometimes you can be gone and come back home. Yeah, sometimes you're gone and come back home, and all you got, yeah, everything you got is gone. Oh, mama, don't you weep. Mama, don't you moan. Oh, mama, don't you weep. Mama, don't you moan. I'm doing my best, yeah, to come back home. Doing my best to come back home. Baby, I'm doing my best to come back home. Oh, mama, don't you weep. Mama, don't you moan. It's a little ditty for my mama. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to read a piece now that is a dedication and an honoring to my grandmother. Inside of the book that I wrote, Blended, there's 4 pieces that are titled Mammy, and they kind of go in sequence. The first one is one that I wrote about her being and her life. The second one was really something that I wrote to deconstruct the American kind of caricature of Mammy that has come through the ages. And the third one was really for me to explore, where is Mammy living in me? Like, where is that character, and what is it going to take for me to deconstruct that character? And the fourth piece is about the emancipation of Mammy. Like, what does it look like for Mammy to become free? What does it look like for her to breathe deeply, take off her apron, and be a free human being? So I'm going to read the first one, but the reason I'm talking about those 4 is because I really feel like those are the heart. It's kind of 4 chambers, like the heart of my book, those 4 pieces. So this one, in remembrance of my grandmother, is really about calling in the ancestors into this space. Not just my ancestors, but all of our ancestors. Because I really believe that the work that we do here is going to travel back in time and forward in time. So I had to write this for my own healing, but I think that my grandmother feels it too, and my mother. Mammy. Nancy Agnes Elfrida was all black matriarch and my grandmother. I called her Nanny. All the adults around me called her Mammy. Her own children called her Mammy. Her husband called her Mammy. In my youth, I accepted this as my grandmother's other name. There was even an endearing quality to the ear when people called out to her, Mammy. I remember my grandmother's smile, a glow like the warmth of sun turning honey into liquid sweetness, or the shy sun peeking out from behind a cloud to let you know warm days are coming. I remember Elfrida's hymn and hum as she cleaned the house, did laundry, and herded her grandchildren, hanging onto her apron strings day in and day out. I remember laying my head on her pillow-like thighs, enveloped into her softness, the smell of baking lingering on her apron as she hummed me to rest with enduring love. I remember being locked between her strong knees for the dreaded daily hair combing routine. My tender head crying out in pain to meet her response, "Child, beauty is pain." Nancy had superpowers with fire, the heat of discipline from her eyes that stopped me from continuing any childish naughtiness. Truly, she possessed spider senses and eyes in the back of her head. With one look, I was burned into submission. I remember Agnes's fondness for Jim Reeves' country music. Wrestling, rum, chicken, bright-colored flowers, and her family, her family, her family. Mrs. Thomas had faith. Hours of devotion in church accumulated into years. Dressed to the nines, I helped choose which Sunday fancy hat she'd wear from her wardrobe of many. Watching her hit the ground in prayer, possessed by the Holy Spirit, hearing her speak in tongues was a natural occurrence for me. I remember the day she told me she had nurtured white people's children for money. Those people called her Mammy. Willingly, she gave them her unconditional love and comfort. The trauma of her life became visible in her brokenness. Sitting quietly in an armchair for hours, rocking back and forth, hugging herself, she began to disappear before my very eyes. Mental illness brought rage, mood swings, and hurtful verbal outbursts towards those who loved her the most. Eventually, hospitalized and medicated to become a shell of her former self, dementia set in. All the joy used up, gone, poof. Life numbed for her final years. The woman I describe here to you was so much more than a construct caricature called Mammy. Nancy Agnes Elfrida Jeffrey was mine, a part of the conduit for my being here. I lay in her womb too. We still continually reach for each other, she from the other side, me towards her from this physical reality where she willingly now embodies the role of my spiritual matriarchal ancestor, Nancy Agnes Elfrida Jeffrey.
All right. Just bring this around here. Make it a little bit easier for me to see. All right. How's everybody? Everybody good? You don't have to be that quiet. You can say something. We're all family here. Don't blow away.
Oh, should I switch that on?
Yeah, can you? That'd be great. I'm gonna try to do some new songs. Some of the songs I have are pretty old, but and try to do stuff in tune too. Come on. There you go. There you go. So we all went through the pandemic or the damn panic. Still in it, kind of. And I thought, well, what's come out of it is pretty interesting because I don't know if our lives changed that much, really. Maybe we're lucky, I don't know.
But I saw a lot of people suffer with it, that were kind of confused and not knowing where, you know, where they should be, or that's not gonna work. I'm gonna get it, trust me, I'm gonna get it. Here we go. So I started thinking about stuff, and I've never been, people ask me obviously, because I think part of the thing of being multiracial or visually multiracial is that people feel like they have an avenue to you. You know, whether it be from one side or the other, it's just, it seems to be there. And we talk about that quite a bit. You know, where I always say anyway, everybody's mixed anyway, just right here, right now seems to be the big difference, you know. But I do, this is a song called We're All in It Together, and I'm gonna try to do this for us. Just an easy song. It's bad when you can't read your own handwriting. All this coming and going, when will it end? Can you tell me? Can you tell me, friend? All I know is that we're in this together. All I know is that we're in this together. People dying on the left and right, stumbling in the dark, no end in sight. Well, all I know is that we're in this together. All I know is we're in this together. You might be rich, you might be poor. What you gonna do when death comes knocking at your door? Let's do that one again. You might be rich, you might be poor. What you gonna do when COVID comes knocking at your door? Well, all I know is we're in this together. Well, you might be black, you might be white. You can choose to love, you can choose to fight. All I know is that we're in this together. All I know is we're in this together. Well, you can run, you can hide, but you gotta face up what you feel inside. All I know is we're in this together. All I know is that we're in this together. The sky is blue and the grass is green. You and I, you know, we're just stuck down here in between. Down in between. be fast, you might be slow. I wrote this song, I hope this will help us grow, help us grow. All I know is we're in this together. Yes. Thank you. Stand up and make sure you're on the mic.
I know.
Some people here, because she talks kind of quiet.
Can you, am I talking too quiet?
Is she talking too quiet, guys?
We can hear you.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, you want to stand up?
I do want to stand
You
up.
don't want to hold the mic up.
No, I don't want to hold it. No.
Okay, you got to undo this like this. That tall enough for you?
I think so.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Pull it up a little bit one time. There you go. Pull it up. Right. Up a little more. There you go.
Well, and then put this.
And then tilt it. There you go.
Oh, no.
Tilt the whole thing.
Oh.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. It's really funny because we did a show together not long ago, and I was like, I'm going to sit down and read the whole show. And he's like, you're not going to sit down because you really like to stand up when you read. And I was like, no, I'm going to sit down. And as soon as I started reading, I just popped right up. And of course, I stood right in front of him, so he had a view of my rear end the whole time.
I think.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to read you this piece called Queendom. So to give a little bit of background, it's kind of become popular, I would say, in black culture to call black men and black women kings and queens over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years, maybe before, but I personally was never called a queen until I went to Morocco, and I would kind of go out on my daily adventures and come back and they'd be like, the queen's back. And I think it's kind of like a title that is given to an older, maybe more motherly kind of character in a country like Morocco. But for me, what it really spoke to was this idea of sovereignty and where in myself do I feel like I'm powerful and reigning over, kind of like, or bringing authority through. Where am I claiming that in myself? So the kind of whole notion of being a queen was really fascinating to me. So I wrote this poem about my queendom. Welcome to my queendom, the area where my energy permeates everything. This space is all things soft and strong, light and dark, deep and wide. The bass winding up my waist in a celebratory dance of this sacred magic of being alive. My passion is potent. Wildness easily accessible through the rhythm of a drum. My voice will sound a welcome song that makes you blush a little to receive so much intimate attention. No holding back. I hold your hands in mine. A crackle of lightning belly laughter vibrates, taking up all the space as tears of wet joy trickle down our cheeks. We are together. Love will not be contained or repressed in my queendom. Love will not be contained or repressed in my queendom. I govern in a way that clearly pleasures me. Ample time, sensitivity, and warmth overflowing. I welcome you into this palace with an embrace that holds the universe. The rules are fluid. The rules are fluid. The high standards of kindness and respect revered. Safety permeates the atmosphere. Eye contact slipping into a comfortable silence. There is abundance to share. There is abundance to share. A blanket, an open ear, a cozy hat, words of encouragement, warm tea, clear guidance, and spicy family curry. Rest your laurels here, my friend. Confidence oozes from the cushions on the couch. The carpet holds you to the earth, and the painted walls are ready to receive you. The cake baking in the oven contains brandy-soaked fruit, ritually prayed over for a whole year. Sweetness fills the lungs of this small palace I call home. When I smile at you, warm sunshine lights up the air and kisses your gentle face, just like my grandma smiled at me. You will always be treasured just as you are in my queendom. You will always be treasured just as you are in my queendom.
All right. Deep stuff, man. Which reminds me, the more that I do this with Velda, it's interesting what kind of comes out, what reminds me of the music and what reminds us of our lives together, and our kids, which most of us here have kids. Just kind of the things that they say to you, or when, through their lives, that you remember that they don't. That means something to you that they don't even care about anymore. They've forgotten it. But when we traveled to Montana, when I think Kavi was probably 10-ish, something like that, about 10 years old. And he'd never really been, he'd been to Europe and he'd been to some places. And I wrote another song that kind of reminded me of it called Wide Open Spaces. Murphy will remember that one as a song that he'd sing with me. But Kavi, we were on this road trip and we're driving, and it seems like hours when your kid's in the car and they're like, are we there yet? That kind of thing. And we had the dog with us, Tico, at the time, and the car was hot, and we got out of the rest stop, and he was just kind of wandering around and watching him play and stuff like that. And he's scratching his head, and he would always have these deep things that he would say to me that I could never really answer. It always took time, and he said, so we're kind of in in his language, he's like, we're in native country, right? This is native land, And I said, well, yeah, there's the reservation there and everything. And he said, I don't understand. I said, what don't you understand? He said, well, it's just empty. So why did they have to take it from the natives? And I just was like, boom, So anyway, it just made me think of that. But here's a song that's kind of true too. It's called We All Want Freedom. Where we're all looking for the answers. Yeah, some of those people, they say they have the proof. But nobody wants to hear the truth. 'Cause we all want freedom. Yeah, we all want it today. But it must be for everyone. Oh, there'll be a heavy price to pay. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. And I'm not saying no, that I'm right. My mother told me a long time ago that love and peace is the only way. Get the same moving right. Because we We all want freedom. Yeah, and we want it today. But it must be, yeah, it must be for everyone. Oh, there'll be a heavy price to pay. So dream of the world as one big family. That means I see all of you. If we can just remember this, oh, we just might make it through. Just might make it through. Yeah, because we're searching for the answers. We don't care, no, we don't care if we're wrong, if we're right. We're always looking for someone to blame. Someone dumb enough to start a fight. Because we all want freedom. And we want it, yeah, we want it today. But it must be, oh, for everyone. For my children and your children will pay. We all want freedom. Thank you. I had a coffee just a little ago, and I think it's done the opposite to. I'm actually feeling like not tired, just very chill.
Alright.
Because that's usually a much faster song. But how's everybody? Everybody want to stand up for a minute and shake anything off? You good? Butts are good. All right. You falling asleep, Joe, on me? No. Okay.
You can rest your eyes, it's okay. So I'm going to read another piece that is a little bit about Morocco. So the first time that I went to Morocco, I went to meet our daughter, Kriya, who was there. I was there for about 3 or 4 days before she arrived, and maybe 3 or 4 days after she left by myself. And I wanted to buy some musical instruments for Ahmad here. And I had been shopping, and the way it kind of goes in Morocco is you walk around, you look at things, you make connections, you chat, and then eventually you figure out who you're going to buy something from, and you go and you commit to having a relationship with this person by drinking tea and talking story and kind of, yeah, like that. So this story is about my experience of buying instruments for Ahmad in Morocco, and it's called Rainy Tears. Experiences become memories, swirl underwater, and then rise to float to the surface for a while. Let's go back a spell. Today, I kept my promise. I returned to a music stall in the Medina to buy instruments. The tiny shop was chock full of fascinating foreign objects. Prepared to haggle for the best price, which is all part and parcel when shopping in Marrakesh. Buying was extra appealing today because of the downpour from the heavens. At the music stall, Zachariah makes me tea. Maybe a tactic to seduce me into buying more, but let's go with it anyway. We sit together in his tiny shop. He plays some of the instruments, and I listen with eyes closed and ears open, feeling unfamiliar but familiar rhythms in my hands and feet. Joy moves my feet, and I offer a small dance to the music in the middle of this tiny shop. Hands on his heart, Zach bows his head to me in thanks, and then business begins, or so I think. Zach asks me, "Have you heard about the origin of this instrument?" A metal pair of hand percussion instruments called gambri, played in the tradition of Gnawa music. I say, "Please tell me, I want to know." Zach's story begins. Long ago, there were people taken from their country of origin, slaves. They were captured and wore shackles, searching for answers to their misfortune, asking themselves questions. Why is this happening to me? Why am I taken from my family that I love so much? Why am I black? Why is this God's will for me? Why do I have to suffer so? How will I bear all this pain? Maybe I will even die here. The slaves bound in those chains made rhythms by hitting the metal shackles that bound their feet and hands together. They sang their songs to the heavens, this clanging rhythm intended to transcend their suffering, ease their pain, bring them into trance, reaching for another dimension beyond this physical realm. The slaves left their bodies behind. The music they created kept them alive. Souls connected and spirits were fed by the food of music. The slaves could then endure another day. The instrument was a reminder to me of the pain, survival, and resilience of all captured slaves. There were those with the warrior spirits that chose death, jumped overboard, never to be oppressed and abused. I am a descendant of the ones that suffered, gained strength, and survived. After Zach's story, I felt the diaspora of slaves' experiences in my body. I could hear voices field hollering on sugar and cotton plantations. I could feel the origin and rhythm of the blues. I shared these facts with Zach, and I surprised myself as tears rolled down my cheeks. I had opened my heart to a mysterious place that was previously unknown and hardened to me. I felt deep ancestral suffering coursing in my veins. Zach rubbed his face, unsure of this intimate sharing with a total stranger. Our eyes meet, and he, too, is crying. He tells me a fraction of his orphaned life story. Together our tears flow more and more. The burdens alive within are released for a spell of time. He is a salesman. We are no longer strangers to one another. We laugh and cry and drink mint tea. I buy my instruments, we hold hands and say our tender goodbye blessings. I may never be here or ever see him again. I leave with my heart open and mind refreshed, back to the streets of the Medina. Moroccan rain washes away the salty, dried tear stains still on my face. And I know that some memories are burdens and some like this are a blessing.
So I'm going to add a little bit to that Moroccan kind of thing, my experience a little bit. Going there for the first time was Velda's kind of showing me around. And I didn't really vibe with the whole Medina thing that she loved, to be honest. Reminded me too much of the inner cities that I grew up in, and you know, seeing that young children and animals and that kind of thing working. And so it was really different for me, different experience. But what I did like was that I would see all these familiar faces of people that looked like other people that I knew back in the States. And I was like, wow, that looks like the Jenkins boy. You know, he's working in the shop down the street. And it just always would kind of shock me, you know, into memories of when I was younger. So that's just a little bit about Morocco. But anyway, this is a blues. It's an old blues that I wrote actually back at Centrum, probably 2007-ish. And it's not a true story in my case, but it is a story. My baby said she don't love me and I'm not sad. My baby said she don't love me and I'm not mad. My baby said she don't love me and I'm kinda glad. Old woman I ever had. Dirty dishes in the sink, laundry in the hall. She long list of can't do it all. She won't make love to me, cook me no food. I begin to wonder I must be a crazy young fool. I go back to work in the evening when that mean old sun is going down. Yeah, I go back to work in the evening when that hot sun is going down. When I come home, yeah, she ain't nowhere to be found. People been talking around the neighborhood, said I've been up to all kinds of no good. People coming and going from my back door. She wondered, tell me, boy, what is this love for, girl, you mean? Why do you treat me so low down and mean? She said, what do you mean? You the low down boy I ever seen. I feel like I'm working 24 hours every day. Well, she got her hand on her hip. She said, you better go back to work for the rest of the day. And when I come home, all she wants is my pay. wondering, is this love for real? 'Cause all I can do is feel bad for you. Tell me, baby. Tell me, baby. Tell me, baby, how do you feel when you're all alone at night? Mean woman. We're just moving along. What time we got? 8:28. You want to take a break? You want to keep going?
Keep going.
All right. Let's do it. Isn't she good?
Your wife,
Love it. Thank you.
does your wife really buy you guitars?
Pardon me?
She buys you musical instruments.
Well, the instrument that she came back with was kind of like, first of all, I cut myself with it the first time I tried to play it.
The gum ring.
They make those metal.
They're like we should have brought them
I
tonight.
should have brought them. Yeah, we
They're
should bring
kind
them.
of like metal maracas,
Oh, sure.
but they kind of are shaped.
Yeah, like we have, we
Yeah,
have
kinda like
we
that.
have this kind of stuff, right? And all that kind of stuff in African American tradition, playing the bones and that kind of stuff. And they have more of these, and they play all these polyrhythms and offbeat rhythms, and you try to do it, and I think I was a bit high on Coca-Cola or something when I first tried to play them, and I was just chicken around. The next thing I know, I had blood coming down because they're the ones that they sell in the Medina are not the polished up versions, But yeah, it was good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Guess it makes sense a little bit to talk about writing and words and why writing and why words, So for me, I've always been a lover of the word and kind of always try to be sensitive about what I say and how I say it and how it lands. So for me, writing this book, it's kind of like it was a culmination of a lot of conversations, feelings, life experiences that all of a sudden kind of just couldn't be kept inside anymore. So when people ask me, I know some writers write for audiences. I wrote this book for myself and for my own healing because I needed it. That's the truth. And if anybody else gets anything out of it, that's amazing too. But I feel like for me, the act of putting my thoughts and feelings and lived experience into words on a page was so alchemical and healing that I kind of couldn't stop doing it. And I find myself now still kind of in the same process with words. But I do want to say, it really is an accumulation of numerous, it's not, it's me who's bringing it through onto the page, but it's a lot of influence that has made this happen. And words are powerful. They can tear people down or lift them up. So I'm going to read you this piece called Feeling Brown. And, there's sometimes when I've spent, I would say, the majority of my life in white spaces, in a lot of white spaces. And maybe for a chunk of time, I was kind of also not really willing to claim my brownness or blackness. Kind of maybe wishing it wasn't so, and I could kind of just skip that part. But one day I went to a cacao ceremony, which is cacao is beautiful and brown, right? And I was sitting at the end of the cacao ceremony, and people were playing music and having all of these beautiful things to say, and all I could think is, I'm feeling really brown right now. That's all I could think as I looked around the room that was to me, a sea of white faces. I felt really brown. So this is what this is about. I'm feeling so brown. Brown like sweet, exotic spiced sugar, or like a dirty, limp, used-up rag, asks my melanin muse. I ponder the light with brown like thickened cacao coating my throat. The brown part of me, born of the original humans, from an abundant continent able to satisfy scarcity's ravenous appetite. Kings dressed in robes of rich, bright cloth that smile, dance, and are fiercely loving. Queens full of wild laughter and song, walking with heads held high, as if floating on air with their pride of princes and princesses trailing behind them, ready to bite with eyes on fire in an instant. Or, and I acknowledge the dark with, the dirty brown that feels mucky and inadequate, with unnamed shame bubbling to the surface of the skin. Brown on the outside, but trying to be another color inside to fit the outside, blushing and flushing with confused discomfort, shrinking and expanding into bodies that don't fit or don't exist yet. Looking around the room for some likeness, a nod of recognition, nothing. No one here is brown like me. Not here, not now, not today. Sensitivity plus consciousness is a load to carry within a life trying to work through an equation that may never be neat and solved. Melanin Muse interrupts. Hold up there, sister. The way I see it, you can begin with relishing in all sides of your feeling brown, for that is loving yourself. You brown human, Velda. I'm just wondering, are you feeling black, brown, or white?
Oh, okay.
It's kind of funny because he hasn't read the book. So I don't know
Well,
if he's
that's
heard
not
all
true.
of these pieces.
Slow down.
Slow down. Not all of them.
She says she doesn't think I read it, but
You have a secret.
it wouldn't be a secret if I told you. But something that, like I said, I just spent 3.5 months with my mother in January to April, and I don't think I had spent that much time with my parent for a long, long time, because I kind of moved away from her thousands of miles when I was 15 years old. First time when I was 11, actually, got sent away because a brother of mine had committed a crime, and they kind of gave him the choice to get out of state. Of course, I got sent along, but it wasn't that bad because it was Hawaii, so don't feel bad for me. That fan, every time I start getting ready to play, that fan kicks on. So I'll just talk for a little bit, so we got about half an hour. But so something that I think that came to my mind when my mom said, well, you know, her biggest fear as a parent, which most parents feel this way, is something happening to your child, right? And you know, when she was in the States with us, and my father was going through his drugs and mental illness, which, you know, maybe was not, we don't know because he was never diagnosed, but you know, my mother just basically lived in fear all the time, and it took her a long time to kind of get out of that fear, especially when the fear is kind of within. And I give my mother credit because she never really bashed my father. You know, she could have easily, because he abandoned us, you know, us 3 kids, and we got evicted in New York City when I was a child. And you know, he did things that were kind of unforgivable, but she would always kind of, you know, talk about his greatnesses to me. And so I had, you know, these real mixed messages in my head as a kid. But as you grow up and you have your own children, and then your own fears start coming out about your own kids, about leaving the house, and for whatever reason, I don't know if this is for everybody, but you end up worrying about your sons a little bit more than your daughters. And I did especially. not to say that he wasn't the smartest Kriya, but just kind of, you know, all of a sudden they go from being puppies where everybody loves them to being these men that people view as men that are not really fully grown yet or fully formed. So this is kind of a heavy song. I don't mean to scare anybody, but this is... See what's going on. Well, I'm going to Ferguson. See what's going on. Well, young Michael Brown lie bloody on the ground, crying, Mama, why am I so cold down in Ferguson? Don't you wanna go? 1 and 2, and 3 and 4. And the boy's still running. I better shoot him some more down in Ferguson. Don't you wanna go? Well, you can run and you can hide. Ain't gonna get very far when Officer Darrell Wilson got evil on his mind down in Ferguson. Don't you wanna go? Down in Ferguson, down in Ferguson, down in Ferguson, well, young Michael Brown, young Michael Brown, young Michael Brown, lying bloody on the ground, crying, Mama, why am I so cold? Ferguson, well, you can run and you can hide. Yeah, you can run, Officer Darrell Wilson, Officer Darrell Wilson. Oh, Officer Darrell Wilson, he's all driving round. Has he got evil on his mind? Down, way down in Ferguson. Well, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. The boy's still running. I better shoot him some more. Why they gotta run? Why they gotta run? Did he do anything wrong? Oh, I can't say. He must be running from trouble. You know they always run. You know they always run down in Ferguson. Don't you wanna go? Well, young Michael Brown lay bloody on the ground. Young Michael Brown down in Ferguson. Yeah. Yeah. So before you go into, I wrote that song because I want to say when the BLM kind of organizations first started in Seattle, I hosted one of the meetings with Stormy Weber, who's a local poet and activist. And back then it was really like 50-50. Everybody was there, black, white, Chinese, didn't matter who, everybody was there. And it was before the whole BLM is terrorist organization deal and all that. We had politicians there. We had preachers there before everybody started kind of running from the whole thing, before the mic grab.
before all that. And so I just wanted to write that because we had people from Ferguson who came and they brought these huge displays of the riot, like, you know, melted toys and signs, and we got space donated to us up at a dance center up in Capitol Hill. And it's just interesting, like, how the time has shifted from that now, that I don't think anybody would give space to a Bay Area meeting if we tried to have one now, because it's kind of, everyone's just scared, you know, especially in our parts where we live. It'd be pretty hard to get that space. I ain't scaring nobody. I'm not trying to scare nobody.
No, you're good. I'm gonna kind of go down that same path that he just opened up.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you down there. It's a little bit longer piece, but I think it's really worth me reading it all, because sometimes I ask myself, you know, I have a black husband and a black son, and sometimes I ask myself, who has their back if I don't? Right? So that's kind of one question I ask myself. And who's going to step in when I'm not there to help? So this poem that I'm going to read is called Beloved Black Men, and it's really an honoring of the black man. It's really kind of like me saying, I see you in all facets of your experience. So here goes. I'm feeling the mighty spirit protector rising in my chest for all men of color. It's a fierce signal registered within DNA, ovaries of great-greats whose wombs I lay within, ancestral traumas brewing for centuries triggered here and now. Sometimes confusion reigns and trauma is too deep to turn towards, let alone feel. And I find that I am numb. There are subtle dangers for black, brown, male bodies in a laid-back, liberal small town. Historically, a white woman has privileged superpowers. She can say the word, and folks will gather, hunt, and do bodily harm in a righteous frenzy to brown, black-skinned truth, no questions asked. And I find I'm sickened. Let's get real. Only melanin stereotypes are really welcome. The needy, exotic, druggy, pimp, mute, orderly, athlete, comic, musician, and compliant fool might be accepted into the white crew and typecast in a role to play. And I find I am disgusted. Black men punished for fear that they are too, what? Our collective cultural sickness wrapped around race is a chronic hot mess. Betrayal is real, and brown, black bodies are being socially and emotionally lynched. The desire to awaken in the collective liberal mind is dormant, unconscious, in denial. And I find I am enraged. Brown black men understand in their bones that it is precarious to be alive. Any act can be contorted and used against. History tells of a humanity tying you up, locking you in, or shackling you down. To open up, speak out, be oneself is unnecessary risk-taking. Vulnerability surely will give rise to victimhood. Never ever lay down the weapons. Defend oneself at all cost, because it appears on some level we are always at war. One escape route is to flee the situation, body and soul, into isolated invisibility. And I find I am hurting. To be real, flawed, strong, and authentic in self-loving, brown, black skin, tell me, is this a crime? remember holding my brown boy during his first days of life, surprised at the heavy weight pressing on my soul. I sobbed. Maybe it was hormones rushing, heart bursting for all the possible misunderstood actions of others coming for him on a path yet to be unveiled. He is a perceived danger, my brown baby boy. Is it my job to steer destiny or to protect you? Will hard knocks ultimately serve in your survival? I'm ashamed of my timing being so off, gut responding after the facts and the acts. I'm his brown mother, still learning my own overridden complexities. I want to tattoo a knowing onto his soul, a knowing of his divine essence mixed with all the wrongness in the world. You are a shining star. Heads up, space for your true freedom is narrow here. And I find I am real. Our black-brown boys can be dazed, bleeding at the side of the road. Cars drive by, but nobody stops to find out if a 12-year-old brown boy needs any help. He's invisible unless he's angry, asking with his kind, smiling, bright eyes, "Mama, why can't they see me? It's just me." But it's no longer just you. You are now becoming a man-child, learning you can't always be what you are, perfect, vulnerable, and expressive, forging yourself for this black life. And I find I am truth. So, people please acknowledge and challenge the racist part of self. Have the courage to voice truth and be consciousness in action. Stop the cycles brimming out of fearful self-loathing, for this will rot a human from the inside out. Keep the dangerous unconscious shadow of fear at bay and in check at all times, lest fear rule the majority and we all fall prey to the death chambers. And I find I am courage. Can forgiveness ever happen? Maybe in time when atrocities have been acknowledged, apologies expressed, and honest amends made, generations born and buried, possibly gratitude will surface and the pain of experience be composted into the alchemy of future wisdoms. I know within my lineage of spirit-infused brown-black people, beyond all strategy and complexity is a strength so vast, a heart source so unconditional, it can choose to embrace all the chaotic human polarities at once or not. And I find I am human. The sheath that protects this current body I reside within is my golden brown skin. I keep trying to experience my skin holding me. It's exhausting, and I find I'm still afraid.
All right, well, it's a few minutes left, and we'll just close it up. Are you done? You got any more you want to read? Maybe one more?
Maybe one more.
Okay.
A little one.
Another one. Oh boy. So, yeah, trying to do. Yes, I'm wondering when I'm gonna see you again. Yes, I'm wondering when I'm gonna see you again. Yes, I'm wondering how you gonna come back around. 'Cause I've been wondering all my life. Yes, I've been wondering all my life. Yes, I'm wondering how you're gonna come back around. Yes, I'm wondering how you're gonna come back around. Oh, I wandered so far, got lost on my way. Yes, I wandered so far, I lost half a day. I forgot the words to the song. It's all right. I'm gonna change it up a little bit, go to another one. Went down to the corner store to buy the morning paper. The man stopped me and said, do you know, all I could do is hang my head in shame. Say, man, I just don't know. Well, he said it might not be now, but sooner or later. It might not be now, but sooner or later we're gonna have to make amends. Yeah, we're gonna have to mend. And the stars, they do shine. I'll be yours if you'll always be mine. And we can move up to the country and watch our children grow as long as they know. As long as they know. Well, I went down to the corner store to buy the morning paper. I was praying for some good news, but all I could find was this bloody war. Man just gave me all kind of blues way down in my shoes. Well, the man said, do you know, all I could do is hang my head and say I don't know. Well, he said it might not be now, but sooner or later we're gonna have to tell the whole dirty truth, the whole dirty truth. And I said the stars, they will shine. I'll always be yours if you'll always be mine. We can move out to the country and watch our children grow as long as they know. As long as they know. Sooner or later. All right. So, before we head out, this book for me, that I've read multiple times now, is surprised me as much as most people, because I was quite a thinker, and it's interesting because it's a different thing growing up. I'm not speaking for you, but growing up in England as opposed to growing up in America, and how all the things that, because when we travel around the world, and that stuff travels with us, like we realize how effed up we are about some of those things that we carry with us, and it's kind of fearful because you're worried about spreading it. You know what I mean? It's like a toxic thing, you know. But I think that people from the especially people of color coming from the Caribbean, they have a different, they carry themselves differently. Joseph knows what I'm talking about, being from Trinidad, is that you have a country. And so for most African Americans, we don't feel that way. That's not a natural feeling for us, that this is our country, even though we've been here for a long, long time. And so it was really interesting for me to read the book, because I feel like it's kind of like it meets it both ways, you know. So I'll leave you with Velda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I know we shared some stuff that was a little heavy, but what I want to say about that is that, you know, it's like you need gravity to find levity and dark to find light. You need to go down all the way with your pain in order to find a way of expressing, to find freedom. And that's what I feel like I found with the art and the writing in this book, that I have more space for joy now than I ever have had. So I just want to assure you that we're okay. Okay? We're okay. We're doing our thing. And I'm just going to read this little one to you. This is called Essence. If it's true that there is only one of me in this universe as we know it at this time, and the stars of the heavens came together for me to be me, if hardship and challenge have forged my abundant gifts that are now visible for you to see, and time to become more is limited by the electrical current we call life. If my essence as I know it today is all I truly possess, then how will I choose to distribute this resource of my cultivation? What then shall I leave with you? Thank you for being here.
Thank you both so much for being here. And when we have you back one day, don't apologize for being heavy, because I think people often mistake the lessons learned from trauma for active trauma that feels raw, because it might feel raw to somebody else, but it's you should never apologize for speaking what you feel and speaking yourself. So and no apologies in the Couth Buzzard. I'm still filming this. Sorry if I don't know if anyone's watching this, but you can deal with it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
having us here.
Thanks for everybody coming.
She has books. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Melody books,
Velda
yeah.
has books, and they're signed copies. I believe these ones are all signed.
Okay, we'll catch you all on the flip side. Thank you so much for watching this. And this is our donation page if you feel like kicking us a couple dollars to the Couth Buzzard.